Hello, I am the Script Doctor and welcome to the channel. It's ground zero for televised Star Trek, the series that sped up the decline of a franchise stumbling after the poor execution and reception of the Bad Robot films. I say poor because while they were filmed and marketed as action epics, their box office results and fan response was less than stellar. But today's episode won't be getting lost in the wormhole of the film franchise of post-Enterprise Star Trek. Nope, this week we'll be tumbling down another wormhole, the one created by Star Trek Discovery. I was not on the YouTube scene when Star Trek Discovery first premiered, so you will not find any detailed reviews or breakdowns of the first two seasons by me on this channel, at least not yet. I may cover them in the future only if I can find something about them to comment on that hasn't been addressed before. For starters, I think Star Trek Discovery is not a terrible title for a Star Trek show. Even the initialism of STD, cheeky as it is, would not dissuade me from watching this show if it were well written. If in some alternative universe Discovery was an excellent show, true to form and to the brand, you can bet your bottom dollar it would be marketed as infectious and that the fans are itching for more. But sadly, that is not the case in our reality. So, my wonderful audience, come head with me to the transporter room and set your phasers to stun as we beam in to see the strange attempt at character development and story that is Star Trek Discovery Season 3, Episode 1, That Hope Is You, Part 1. The episode opens with a montage of a man waking up, brushing his teeth, and sitting at a desk. He has been living this routine for some as-yet-to-be-disclosed time. From this quaint moment, we are pulled into a dogfight between Book and a pirate. They fly in elaborate formations, exchanging fire and inconsequential dialogue. Their skirmish is interrupted when a wormhole opens and Michael Burnham in her Red Angel suit strikes Book's ship, sending him off course. How is her body not broken by the impact? How is such a massive ship with engines propelling it in one direction thrown off course so easily? It was weaving between debris just a moment ago, so it has the capabilities for elaborate movements. Did Michael Burnham damage this massive ship with her impact? Does this ship not have shields? Were they disabled or disrupted because of the wormhole? I can understand if something small like Burnham struck a large object, it would cause her damage and system malfunction. But I don't get why the same would happen to a giant ship.
It just raises too many questions.
We get a shot identical to what I saw once in a cartoon many years ago as the ship and Burnham enter the planet's atmosphere. Burnham has lost control and reboots her system, activating reverse thrusters and impact shields seconds before she strikes the side of a hill. She and her suit survives, with only her visor cracked and life support failing. She vomits clear bile as if she were purging herself of Seasons 1 and 2, and proceeds to confirm her location and that there are life forms in existence. I'm somewhat shocked by her reaction to this, because the entire reason her suit is damaged and she's on this planet is because she hit another ship, one she is somewhat aware of. If the ship exists and hasn't chased after her to finish the job, then there is some form of life. Something has to pilot that ship, so her asking the question to the computer if there's life is incredibly redundant. If anything, a real Starfleet officer would inquire as to what they hit, come up with a hypothesis, and then explore options based on the facts available. While she can't locate Discovery at the moment, she does see the wormhole closing. She quickly takes a survival pack from her suit and orders it to self-destruct after sending a final signal to Spock in the past. Wait, this suit has an AI that can move and do things on its own? So why the heck was Burnham in the suit to begin with? Why would anyone need to be in the suit when you can order it to do what you need? It is essentially a hollowed-out droid. Burnham could have been aboard the Discovery this entire time, having the Red Angel suit guide them through the wormhole on autopilot. What puzzles me is that she also orders her suit to self-destruct. I don't understand why she would do this. It is a method of transportation. Being on an unfamiliar planet, you would need to utilize all the resources available to survive. Even partially damaged, the Red Angel suit has value. So getting rid of it deliberately is just a contrived reason to make things difficult for Burnham, instead of maybe going the route of the suit being compromised and will explode because of her hitting that starship. This contrived series of events is purely for expositional reasons. First, to tell us what year she's in. Second, to learn that she's all alone, and third, to find and meet Book, who will inevitably help her find Discovery. After Burnham repeats to herself her Starfleet serial number multiple times because the script said so, she tells herself to stand up and walk to the crash site of the ship she struck. Why is she behaving this way? Needing to will herself to move when she had zero problems to do so earlier. Probably because one of the writers was watching Kill Bill that week and thought it would be cool to pay homage to it here. Burnham makes her way to Book's ship, which is just sticking out of the ground by the shore. So Burnham's little body made an impact crater, but this giant ship didn't? As she gets closer, the ship cloaks and Book attacks her from behind. It's a very one-sided fight where Burnham gets the upper hand, but why was this a fight to begin with? Simple answer, it's easy, empty, time-eating conflict. That's it. They needed these characters to delay their working together, so they made them have a fight. They've also used it to pepper some exposition, that Book is very possessive of his stolen cargo and that he knows Burnham knocked him out of the sky, which is one hell of a leap to the right answer for Book. The Red Angel suit shot back up into space. Book could have seen that happen. Would that not throw in some doubt or mystery for Book regarding Burnham when she shows up? Are there not other people on this planet that could be investigating his crash site? Must it only be the very thing that knocked him out of the sky that he would have contact with? What about the character that was shooting at him earlier? Why isn't that guy en route to take back his cargo from Book? Why doesn't Book think Burnham is working with that guy? We're only 11 minutes into the episode, not including the recap, and I have all these questions of story and character logic that should not exist at all in a properly crafted story. At the bare minimum, Book is trying to protect his cargo, but he's quite terrible at it. I mean, if his ship can cloak, then Burnham can't get inside. Also, if his ship can cloak, why the heck was he in a firefight at the start of the episode? Should he not have been cloaked or activate his cloak to evade his pursuer?
It just raises too many questions.
Burnham and Book get into a standoff. Well, it's a standoff between a knife and a phaser at point-blank range, so really it's not a standoff at all. Book and his knife have lost, but the script needs these two to appear to be on equal ground, so they separate on the count of 3 and agree to stop fighting. Book then reveals how artificial wormholes are bad because the Gorn destroyed a large area of subspace playing around with them years ago. Is this information really relevant right now? No. It is not. Just a bold reference and exposition. Book asks questions only to stop and remind himself that he doesn't want to know. Wow! For a guy that has no interest in Burnham, he's spending a lot of time with her and giving her a lot of information. Burnham confesses that she's lost, alone, and has no one she can trust to help her, so it has to be him, and he obliges. I've said it before, and I'll say it again over and over. Never make things easy for your heroes. Throw in some actual difficulty. These two getting into a fistfight just for Book to help her later because she asks is effortless. She was already in a difficult situation, stranded on an unknown planet, no communications, only a few days' worth of rations, and no one to help her. But the first person that she sees helps her after she beats him up. How is this really earned? Why couldn't she be taken prisoner? Or why couldn't Book not engage with her at all and make his way to the mercantile trading post on his own? Burnham has a tricorder. She could use it to locate the mercantile, do some exploration, perhaps get in trouble, captured, arrested, or something to inject some honest conflict into the story. Something to put Burnham in a situation where she organically learns about her surroundings and has to use her guile to survive and attain her goal. But we don't get that at all. We get a tour of Book's ship where she sees technology 900 years ahead of anything recognizable. Yet she instantly understands the communication systems from a collection of metallic grooves with no discernible pattern. How? How can she know any of this? That's like showing someone from the 12th century this and having them understand that it's a phone and what it does. The tech we've seen of the 32nd century is a type of Iron Man nanotech that can change and reform into desired objects. It's pretty neat, but also not very imaginative because it's really just using the same special effects assets as the holographic interface, but removing the transparency of them to appear more solid. It's really no different than what you would find on a 24th century holodeck, except that it's throughout the entire ship instead of located in a single room. Now that Burnham's obstacle of needing help is complete, Book informs her that he can't do much more until his dilithium recrystallizer is repaired or he gets more dilithium. He tells us he's on a ticking clock. He has to get his cargo to a certain planet within a certain amount of time. What are those variables? Not revealed. So the urgency is in fact hollow. What is it with these Secret Hideout and CW writers that can't grasp such a simple concept as a ticking clock? All that's needed is to establish a specific time as a reference point, and a consequence if it's not met to drive the ticking clock story. How is this a difficult concept to execute for professional writers? Book just has to let the audience know he has 5 hours to fix his ship and get his cargo to its destination or else his cargo will die. That's it. It's literally that easy. We just get an undefined pseudo setup to give the illusion of urgency without the stakes or conflict to give it any weight to the story. What Book does tell us are 2 types of propulsion he could use to achieve his goal: quantum slipstream and solar sails. But no one has fuel for slipstream and solar sails are too slow, so it's up to him to trade something for dilithium. No effort is made to try and fix his recrystallization device. We only learn it's broken. Is it beyond repair? Can't Michael take a look at it? We've had 2 seasons of her solving a variety of problems. Is this the first time one is outside of her skill set? Why isn't Book a character that explores alternatives, suggesting that he needs to either trade to get dilithium or trade to get parts he needs to fix his recrystallizer? Should those options not be at the forefront? Especially if dilithium is rare and valuable. What would happen in the case that the mercantile doesn't have any dilithium to trade that day? For a courier and trader, he comes across as very novice. He introduces us to a big cat named Grudge. It's large because it has a thyroid problem. The year 3188 and there aren't any veterinarians that can cure a cat's thyroid? I also bet the writers were patting each other on the back pretty hard when they named this cat he's holding Grudge. Burnham asks if at this trading post she can get access to a subspace transmitter to find her ship. Book lets her know that she has to have something of value to trade, and she offers her tricorder. Book immediately accepts her deal, and they're off on foot taking the road of Exposition to the mercantile. That's right, the wonderful road of Exposition. A place where everything a bad writer couldn't weave naturally into their story is laid out point by point while the characters journey to the next location. Here, we learn a number of things. Burnham figures out that Book stole the cargo he's determined to protect, that the Federation and Starfleet no longer exist because of the burn, which is when all the dilithium in the galaxy spontaneously exploded, killing countless people over 100 years ago. Apparently, the writers treat dilithium like it's a material connected to itself on another plane of existence. On top of that, the name of this thing, The Burn, from a show with the initials STD, either the writers are completely ignorant of the connotation, or there's a staff writer that snuck this in who detests the show as much as the rest of the public does. I suppose the only way to cure the burn is to find some type of dilithium salve. What is odd is Burnham's reaction to hearing the Federation is gone. From her frame of reference, the Federation is nearly 100 years old, so it is still relatively new. Burnham reacts to this news as a fan of Star Trek would react, not like a character within their own universe, not even like a human who grew up among Vulcans, to come to a logical conclusion that something like the Federation may not survive forever, but change or perhaps disappear as time goes on. The road of Exposition ends in a floating Blade Runner-esque trading citadel. Here we learn that Andorians and Orions work together at this trading outpost, exchanging goods for bits of dilithium. So it wasn't all the dilithium that burned away? Or is it only dilithium of a certain size? Also, if it is so volatile because of the burn, why is it still being traded and needed instead of something else that is more stable? Why hold on to dilithium and not convert warp travel to an artificial singularity that the Romulans use? Heck, wouldn't the Romulans be the ones dominant in this galaxy since they didn't use dilithium and thus not crippled by the burn? I wonder if that will be shown further in this series. A Romulan star empire that has been rebuilt out of the ashes of the Federation. They may have lost their planet, but when Starfleet loses their ships from the burn, they would be in a far better position to gain power and expand. What if it was the Romulans that caused the burn as a means to become a dominating power? This is all speculation, of course. I have no inside knowledge of the workings of the Discovery writers' room. It's just food for thought. While learning about the Citadel, Book manipulates Burnham into a snare so he can steal her gear. Not a bad conflict, a nice betrayal. It makes things more difficult for Burnham, so seeing how she gets out of this trap may be interesting. Burnham is taken to a holding cell where she is questioned by an Orion and Andorian. She's not very forthcoming with answers, and so they drug her with a truth spray that makes her annoying and obnoxious. We cut to Book failing to trade Burnham's equipment for dilithium, and then getting captured by the alien he was fighting at the start of the episode. We then return back to Burnham, who has finished recapping Season 2, showing pride that she saves all of creation before revealing to her captors how she hit Book's ship while he was trying to smuggle stolen cargo. They take her to Book, who's in the middle of the station getting pummeled by the other alien. Burnham punches Book and takes back her gear as 7 guards box her in. She and Book exchange a glance, which is to convey that they're going to fight their way out, and manage to take on and defeat all 7 guards while also stealing several dilithium crystals. It is a terrible set piece. Lots of quick cuts, shaky camera movements, no real understanding of scene geography. In other words, the production did not have any time to properly choreograph this set piece, and so with the power of quick shots and editing, have turned this minute and 45-second set piece into a barely coherent event. Book and Burnham teleport to a waterfall, escaping the firefight for only a moment until they're ambushed. They kill off their attackers and teleport again. This occurs a few more times with exposition that this personal transporter needs 30 seconds to recharge. They finally end up at Book's ship where Book uses his cargo to eat their foes. Wow. a personal transporter that took them from the mercantile all the way back to their ship. Strange that they chose to walk hours across dangerous terrain to get to the mercantile trade outpost when they could have just teleported there in the first place. What's that? A fun plot device that makes the road of exposition we saw earlier appear far more contrived than it actually was? You know a writer is terrible when they make a purely expositional scene far worse after the fact than during. They literally could have woven the burn, lack of the Federation or Starfleet, in a scene at the trading outpost when they're negotiating their goods for dilithium.
Hey, I've got some antiques to trade for dilithium.
Dilithium's expensive. Not much left these days after the burn.
The burn?
You don't know the burn?
She doesn't know a lot of things. This is what I've got.
Federation tech. Haven't seen anything like this in over 100 years. Starfleet?
23rd century.
Very old. Are they functional?
Like new.
6 pieces.
12.
8.
10.
Deal.
And that, my friends, is how you set up context and understanding of your new world quickly and effectively while creating interest. You don't need to stop the story cold with the road of exposition. You don't need to exchange direct questions and answers. You just need to focus on what the characters want and let the information flow through them fueled by that want. In between the running away from the mercantile security forces, they teleport a few times, ending up in a lake. The story stops for a moment to reveal that Book has a type of spiritual connection to plant and animal life and uses that connection to heal Burnham, who took a laser blast to the shoulder. Book then lends her his transmitter to help her find her ship, a device that makes Burnham upset with Book because he's had it this entire time. But that is apparently what Book has become over the last 10 minutes of this episode. He had a site-to-site personal transporter, the ability to heal her wounds, and now the means for her to contact her ship. What sort of convenient trick will he have next for her? Contacting the last of the Federation? Why, yes. After vanquishing their followers that I mentioned earlier and a space slug eating and throwing up Burnham, Book takes his slug to its sanctuary and then reveals that he knows of a Federation outpost that could help Burnham. We meet Aditya Sahil, a Federation liaison to Starfleet. Burnham introduces herself, her ship, and her Starfleet serial number.
Sorry, Commander Burnham. According to my records, there was never a Starship Discovery or Michael Burnham in Starfleet. So you're a liar and must leave the station immediately.
If only. No, Mr. Sahil just believes Michael Burnham's claim without any verification and reveals to us a very tragic story. He has been monitoring this outpost for the last 40 years, all alone. He's made no effort to search out other Federation citizens or ships, start a family, or hire people to assist with the maintenance of this station. Nope, he just sits and waits. And personally, I find that to be a very horrible thing. I mean, right from the start, we want to appreciate his dedication to Starfleet and the Federation, but it is such a minimal effort that I can't respect that. Had this station been a little more populated, I could get behind him more. It doesn't have to be bustling, but let's say in his 40 years he found an additional 10 more people to help keep the Federation alive on this station. That would show that he is active and cares about his cause. But what we are shown is that he's all alone and has done the bare minimum when it comes to his beliefs. And the bare minimum is hoping someone will visit, hoping someone will show up, but not preparing for someone to show up, not repairing the station, not recruiting people with skills or a need to find meaning in a dangerous galaxy. Nope, he just gets up at 8 a.m. every day, brushes his teeth, and sits at his desk waiting until he goes to bed. That is very sad, pathetic, and not very admirable. After Burnham asks for his help searching for her ship and revealing that she's from the past, Mr. Sahil admits to not being a commissioned officer even though his father and grandfather were. Essentially, he tells us that there was no one left to swear him in. His father couldn't swear him in? He couldn't travel to another Federation outpost that he heard of? He couldn't contact those 2 other Federation ships he mentioned just a few seconds ago? Also, why is he volunteering this information now? What does it matter? Oh, he wants to hang the flag of the Federation? Why wasn't it displayed before by his father or grandfather? It's been in his family for generations. There's no reason it could not have been put up on display. Also, he can't hang it himself because he's not an officer? Who's going to question him on that, and even if they do, how could they verify if he's lying or telling the truth? There's no Federation or Starfleet anymore. What, someone from Starfleet's going to arrive at this station, see the flag, and be upset? Hey, did you put this up here?
No, my father did.
Where is he?
He died.
Was he Starfleet?
Yes.
Okay then, carry on. Where's the real problem? Mr. Sahil asks Burnham to put up the flag, and Burnham responds by complimenting him on being as real of a Federation officer as she has ever met. Except Starfleet has officers. The Federation has representatives and citizens. A Federation citizen can be a Starfleet officer, but there is no Federation officer. This is just another in a long list of examples of bad writers not knowing the subject with which they are writing. Starfleet and the Federation are not the same thing. The Federation is an alliance of worlds. Starfleet is a scientific and military branch within the Federation. Federation citizens can join Starfleet. Starfleet officers can sponsor non-Federation citizens that wish to join Starfleet also. But they're not Federation officers. Those aren't the same thing. Burnham should have said Starfleet officer instead. I mean, it would still be a lie. She's only just met this guy and knows very little about him, but it would be a more accurate term within the Star Trek brand. The episode ends establishing a goal. Now that Michael Burnham has arrived, they can start looking for her ship and others who are part of the Federation to rebuild what was lost. But I have to ask, if the Federation is gone, has it been replaced? If so, is it something better? Or is it something worse? Does the Federation really need to come back? This episode had a few basic things to get across effectively. They had to establish that the Federation is gone, why they're gone, and most importantly, why the Federation needs to come back. And the episode doesn't achieve those objectives. Is the only reason to rebuild the Federation so that there's an institution to enforce the Endangered Species Protection Act? Because that's not a very strong reason. Overall, this episode is not a strong premiere. The story drags, has a distracting subplot that deters from Burnham's goal, and doesn't really take her on a self-reflective journey despite being drugged and questioning her reflexive, supportive nature. She basically hits a guy, helps him fix his ship to finish an animal rescue job in exchange for getting a lift to a Federation gas station. While I admire the simplicity of the overall beats of the story, its execution was incredibly convoluted and weighed down with poorly connected conflict, and its use of screen time wasted with set pieces that didn't earn my interest or inspire me to root for the story's heroes. What we can surmise from the past 2 seasons of Star Trek Discovery and what was set up in this Season 3 premiere is that Michael Burnham and the Discovery will solve the problem with dilithium, or rather lack thereof, and rebuild the Federation in their own image, but not before facing some very unrelated obstacle, possibly involving Vulcans or the Romulans, as we haven't seen much of them in this series yet. This will distract us from that goal for approximately 7 episodes, but will magically be twisted and manipulated into bringing about the resolution they need, possibly with the help of the Terran Empress Philippa Georgiou, as that has been the case for the previous 2 seasons. Oh, this is going to be a very long 13 weeks. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. If you have anything to add to this episode, please leave a comment below. Thank you for watching, and never forget, it all starts with the script.